Prague is quite possibly the only capital more famous than the country it's in. Maybe Rome? No, the Italians have pizza. The Czech have something else. They took bread, used it on a juicer, and what came out was this golden liquid. And I went to try some. I feel like a big problem with the last awful travel guide was that it was great. It's a genuinely good travel guide. Won't make that mistake again. But ever since I made it, I've gotten message after message saying, Kilian, you have to travel to Prague and drink cheap beer. And I'm like, no, drink cheap beer, but I will do it if it's demanded of me. I went to my friend and told him of this burden. And he said, you shall not do it alone. I will also drink cheap beer. Kilian, be honest, you're trying to tax deduct getting drunk. What? No. No. What? A travel guide to Prague is necessary because it's been a tourist destination since the 1400s. Some of the travel tips can be a bit outdated. Eat lots of dried meat and drink beer. Yes, yes. The current town square hosts the best executions of apostates in Central Europe. Stay away from the leper district, and even more so the Jewish district, because they will use dark magic to destroy your Christianity. That doesn't sound right. But I'm gonna bring sunscreen just in case. But Prague is the undisputed beer capital of the world. They by far drink the most per capita. Actually, if they replaced every third beer with water, they would still be the #1 beer drinking place in the world. We left Sweden early in the morning and landed in the country. Well, good question. The Czech Republic is the official name, but they want you to call it Czechia. So I'm gonna call it Czechoslovakia. No one tells me what to do. So we landed absolutely starving. Hey Kilian, you seem like the kind of guy who believes that if a restaurant doesn't have at least 1 Michelin star, it's pretty much dog food. What? I'm sorry, excuse me? But you seem like the kind of guy who is an excellent judge of character, you are absolutely right. But all of the Michelin guide restaurants were completely booked. So I survived exclusively on beer snacks the entire trip. The first thing you are supposed to do when you have landed is to check into your hotel. No. Money saving tip, hotel rooms are expensive, but caffeine shots are like €3. Having clear signs of a caffeine overdose, I thought it best we'd visit the town's biggest tourist attraction before my heart stops. An attraction called Walking Around Aimlessly Without a Purpose. Which is fun to do, because Old Town is a bunch of medieval buildings and New Town is a bunch of 300-year-old buildings. You really get the sense of how people lived back in the day. When asked the question, would you live in the Middle Ages, I feel like we go through 3 phases in life. As a child, you want to live in the Middle Ages because of the knights, the swords and the dragons, etc. Then you become a teen and you learn about the smell and how horrible farming is for the back, and you're like, no, I would never live in the Middle Ages, how could they? Then you become an adult and you start drinking alcohol, and then you're like, oh, so this is how they could. Yeah, I probably could live in the Middle Ages. Not that I would want to, but if corporate decides to relocate me back in time, I wouldn't complain, especially if I would have to walk up some stairs. Prague's most famous landmark is a medieval one. The Charles Bridge. Too many people on it. Inefficient. They should tear it down and build a larger one. Okay, I'm a bit biased. You see, in 1648 there was a military operation in the city called Operation Bohemian Freedom by an anonymous army that tried to find chemical weapons in Prague by going through all their stuff, keeping some of it. But the Swedes were stopped on this bridge. Because if you follow YouTubers, you know that Swedes and bridges don't really match. Walking around aimlessly proved aimless. It's also when I noticed that everything was very clear and 4K. This was supposed to be a beer vacation, it should look like this. Let's go to a brewery, the biggest one in town, the Storrow Brewery. Looked up reviews online beforehand. They said, garbage tourist trap, stay away, but the tasting at the end is alright. I was like, tourist trap? That's my jam! But there was no one sitting in the reception to scam us. Only the tasting was open. Not wasting money really ruined my visit. It was delicious, 10 out of 10, massive disappointment. Because we missed the Storrow tour, and as you can tell from the intro, I have no idea how beer is brewed, I asked my friend, hey, wanna go on a brewery beer tasting tour? Sure, it's quite expensive though, then let's not do it. Do you think I would have told you if there remained the slightest chance of you affecting the outcome? I reserved our spots 35 minutes ago. So we went on a beer tour, visited breweries and learned that I was right, they just drive bread through a juice press. It was fun, got to taste a bunch of random beers. Our guide had a theory that the reason the beer drinking per capita is so high is because tourists show up and increase it. I said, that can't possibly be true, and downed my 10th beer. When we left the final place, somewhere around here, we saw a line to get into Prague Castle, which is here, stretching all the way. We decided to skip Prague Castle and instead go to a cloister built by, well, me, for an order of vampire hunters. Now it's a normal cloister. Ever since vampires became sexy, vampire hunters mostly deal with pension fraud. After leaving the cloister, the Prague Castle line was gone, so we decided to enter. Not the best experience. Quick explanation. Prague has an ATM on every street. Those Euronet ATMs that try to charge you 40% for every deposit. I think it's because the Czech don't use euro, but everyone thinks they do. I mean, I was there a couple of weeks ago and I currently think they use euro. So when you visit Prague Castle, you stand in line for a long time, you get hungry. The food inside is terrible, but also the restaurant inside does not accept card without a sign telling you they still live in the 60s. It's probably to trick you into using one of their scam ATMs in the castle. A national monument having ATMs built to scam tourists wouldn't fly in, I think, most countries. Maybe they should. It does make places more memorable. At the castle you can also buy tickets to enter the buildings, and the only reason you would want to do that is to see this window. Maybe you want context why it's an important window. Have you considered it might just be a very nice window? All in all, did not have a great time. But as Swedes, we did not deserve to have a great time. We looted a bunch of art from this place. Didn't get to keep it. The queen at the time abdicated, kept the art and effed off to France. There she gave it away to anyone who asked. Then the English, you know, the guys who made that song Our House in the Middle of the Street, well, they defeated the French and stole the given away stolen art. And they put it in the National Museum, which was in my last video, and if that isn't the most European shite you've ever heard, I don't know what is. The castle doesn't end up on my whiteboard of shame. We were still disappointed and sad. If only there was some sort of magical potion that could cheer us up. Wait! So we went to a tankovna, a tank bar. If you don't know what that is and knows this is a former communist country, you might think it's a bar in a tank. Well, I don't want to be the one to break your dreams, so I'm not gonna deny it. But it can also mean fresh beer from a tank. Obviously today they exist all over the world, but they started here. So we went to a place, but it was full. Bloody locals. Ruin everything, they exist in every city. So now I'm drinking the freshest beer I've ever had on a sidewalk. Is this really where I wanted to be with my life? Yes. We got a table downstairs and we decided, okay, one more beer, then we'll go. So we drank about 3 liters each, then we left. I don't know about you, but after 3 liters, I at least am a bit tipsy. But mostly I need to piss. I see the golden arches. But their basement toilets need a 10 Czech money coin that I don't have. I could go up and ask, but my bladder told me, Kilian, it's time to break the law. So I went under the gate, and I heard behind me someone shouting very loudly. Most of you would probably panic, but I grew up with Splinter Cell. I've been educated about these situations. So I ran into a bathroom stall, raised my legs and pretended not to be there. She walks in, I'm invisible. It was probably the wind.mp3. I bet they still talk about the basement ghost of McDonald's. We snuck out and decided we'll sober up by walking to the astronomical clock. It's a clock from 1410. It's quite big, not astronomical sized. They knew false advertising back then too. Now my friend had to piss. We went in the first bar we saw, but we were stopped and they said, okay, we shall find a table for you. Uh-oh, that's not a good sign. I quickly grabbed a menu and looked at the prices. They were Swedish. We need to get the hell out of here right now! A waiter anime popped out of nowhere. Hello, I shall be your cocktail expert for the evening. Ah shit, we can't leave! I'll have this right here. So I drank the other famous Prague drink, absinthe, which was famously so poorly made back in the day it made people hallucinate. And I think I might have hallucinated that Charles Bridge was completely empty at 2 AM. Idiots, 1600 Swedes, this is when you attack. It's also the best time to visit. One more tank beer that I drank with sorrow, but I would never be able to get these prices back home. This was my final beer. Then I had another one in the morning, and then one more at the airport. And those were my 24 hours in Prague. I hope you learned nothing. Truth be told, I don't actually remember going. I just have a bunch of video clips on my phone and pieced it together. And that is the Kilian experience. Okay, this was after the trip and I'm too lazy to animate it, but it's important to me that you know this happened. I'm alone on the train back from Arlanda airport. We stop at Stockholm Central and this guy walks in. He's only carrying a laptop bag, but it has a weird shape. It looks pregnant. So either his laptop is very old, or maybe two laptop bags loved each other very much. But most likely he's carrying something else in that bag and I gotta know what. I gotta know what it is. About 1 hour into the trip, he opens it up and I sneakily look inside. No laptop. It's actually empty. Except he's got a 2-liter bottle of gazpacho. You know, now I'm staring. I think he knew I was staring. I think he liked it. So he slowly takes out this entire 2-liter bottle and starts drinking it directly from the bottle. Most emasculating moment of my life. My point is, schools can never prepare our children for what's to come. Follow my Instagram for a mini Kilian video.